Unit 4. Acting. Imagination. Lecture. Using your imagination on stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all? Well, as promised today, we have our guest lecturer, Gene Blake, who's going to tell us a little about his experiences as an actor. As you know, Mr. Blake has appeared in more than 30 films, has had a long career on the stage, and now teaches master classes at acting schools all around the world. Today, I've asked him to focus on how he has used imagination to achieve success. But first, let's just remind ourselves how we define imagination. As we saw last time, to an actor, imagination is any process in which we think about anything that we are not currently experiencing. This can be in preparation for a role, and it can also be during the performance. It is a way of putting ourselves in the mind of the character. It can be based on personal experience of similar emotions and situations to our character, for example, or it can be based on research, or more likely, a combination of these. So, please welcome Mr. Gene Blake.
Yes, thank you, Professor Whiteley. And thank you to everyone for having me here today. Well, I'll get straight into it. Imagination, I believe, is one of the most important things for an actor. Imagination can help you to play your role realistically. Think about this. Your character may live a life that is very different from your own. You will thus need imagination to understand your character's reactions and feelings. And it's really, really important to understand your character's feelings. This is absolutely necessary for making your character look real and genuine to the audience. In other words, necessary for giving an authentic performance. So, when I'm asked to play a new character, where do I start? The first step, clearly, is to prepare for the role by researching it. To be sure of an authentic performance, you have to be sure that your starting point is truthful. If you're playing a historical role, make sure you understand the period of history. If you're playing someone from a very different sector of society, make sure you understand the lifestyles and everyday activities of those people. And to my mind, research for actors does not just mean reading. You need to spend time with people like your characters. Spend time living like them. Give your imagination the best possible starting point. I'll give you an example of this. Years ago, I played the role of a person who was completely disabled. My character couldn't move any part of his body at all except his head. Now, I can't make myself disabled. That would be a terrible thing to do, wouldn't it? But I did spend a lot of time with disabled people before filming started. I also tried to live the life of a disabled person. I continued doing it during filming as well, to keep my mind as focused as possible on the mind of the character. For example, I tied myself to a wheelchair and insisted that people carry me up steps when really I could easily walk up them myself, that kind of thing. This drove people crazy, but I remember that it helped a lot. I remember one person who just hated having to lift me up the steps to the dressing room. I remember he got quite angry. Of course, the key to making all this work is imagination. Just going through the motions isn't enough. You just can't fit into a few months the whole lifetime of experiences that your character would have had. With the disabled character, there was a lifetime of frustration and of dealing with people's reactions to the disability, experiences I just didn't have. So, to fill this gap, I had to use imagination. Even though my character was an adult, I spent a lot of time thinking through, imagining, how common childhood experiences would be different because of the disability, how that would have an emotional effect on the adult me, because, of course, people are shaped by their experiences. And this hard work paid off. I won an award for the role. What a celebration we had after that. We were partying for days. But of course, personal experiences can be very, very useful for some roles. I played a London gang member once. Now, I'm not British, as you know, but I did have some experiences in my younger days with, shall we say, some of the less friendly people in New York. Some of these experiences helped me to understand what it feels like to be living on the edges of society. It wasn't exactly the same, of course, and you'll never have exactly the same life experiences as your character. But imagination is a way to fill that gap, too. So, those are my thoughts. Any questions?
Yes, Mr. Blake, I was wondering, on your first film, did you